Future of chemical engineers without O&G. And I imagine that they're saying without oil and gas. That's just what I'm going to guess. So they say for now, oil and gas is a major employer of chemical engineers. So my question is simple. What will happen to all these chemical engineers when we shift to renewables or some other sort of energy production? What will happen then? I am just a final year student. So I'm going to give them a break on this. It's a reasonable question for somebody that is a final year student in college to ask. So I want to remind So I think that a lot of people that don't work in the energy industry don't have the contextual understanding to know that energy is not just oil and gas, you know, traditional oil and gas, and then renewables. It's not just going to be we go from one to the next, and then and that's something that a lot of our policymakers don't know either. But energy production is the transition for energy towards more renewable society of energy generation is not going to just go flip a switch. You can't just say, "Hey, we're going to do solar. We're going to go 100% solar." It's not going to happen. Just like how the concept of being 100% carbon neutral, people are they're not American Airlines is not flying their planes in a carbon neutral manner. They're buying energy credits to offset their carbon productions. Anyways, we maybe we can go into that in another episode of the podcast if you're interested. If you're interested, you want to learn more about how the energy credit industry works, I will do a deep dive and do some research and get back to you in another episode of the podcast. So comment down below if you want a deep dive in the carbon tax and carbon energy credit industry. Um, but okay, it's just not gonna it's not going to be a flip of a switch. So we're in right now what I'd call the energy transition. So a lot of those engineers that have worked for the typical like the Chevrons, the Exxons, they're still working for them and they're working as part of the energy transition. For example, one of the biggest things that's going on right now is natural gas. And you say oil and gas, natural gas. Yes, but again, natural gas is much cleaner energy source than your traditional alternative, which is coal. So natural gas, the biggest thing that's going on right now, big buzzwords is LNG. LNG is liquefied natural gas. So we're bringing the natural gas out of the ground, we're piping in pipelines to an export terminal. At that export terminal, they are converting it into liquefied natural gas. They're putting it on massive tanker ships and then they're powering entire countries. So, um, one example of that is Golden Pass LNG in Sabine Pass, Texas. And Golden Pass LNG is owned by ExxonMobil. They own a 30% stake. And then I think the other 70% um, is Qatar Energy. So Qatar Energy owns 70% and ExxonMobil owns 30%. So these companies that are really experienced, very well known oil and gas companies, they're involved in the energy transition. So the companies that are working for those companies that you think that would get phased out without oil and gas, they're going to be those same companies are going to be the companies that are at the forefront of the energy transition. So that's one big thing there, and also on the consulting side, um, I work for a large EPC firm, and we do construction jobs for natural gas facilities. We do construction jobs for power plants. We do construction jobs for food processing facilities. The engineers that work in the chemical engineers that work in consulting companies, I mean, they're not necessarily doing the design of all the OEM original equipment manufacturer equipment that's actually doing the proprietary processes. So what they're doing is they're integrating and they're building entire systems. So those chemical engineers, I mean, it's take a unit ops class. If you're a final year student, you might have taken a unit ops class or um, a what was the class called? I Dr. Udine, I'm sorry, I have forgotten the name of the other class that I took from you where we did plant simulations. But it's just material balances. It's all about material balances. A lot of those chemical engineers working in consulting are doing material balances for different processes and different systems. So there's always going to be different processes and systems that they can work in. And then the ones that are doing R&D, well, they're going to continue to do R&D in some of the most cutting edge technologies in the renewable energy or energy transition market. And these same companies, another big thing right now is hydrogen for they're blending hydrogen with natural gas for power generation. Um, ammonia is a big thing right now, and it's a lot of the same petrochemical and oil and gas companies that are involved in these new budding technologies. They have the financial resources and they have the desire to be involved in energy. So it'll be a lot of the same major companies as we get further and further along the energy transition towards a more renewable society. So, what I'd say is those engineers are going to be they're going to have plenty of opportunities for employment, and honestly, that transition is not going to happen fully, or I don't even know what fully is, but that transition is going to be occurring throughout our lifetime. So, many of those people will even retire before their expertise would theoretically phase out. And also, I want to also just close with this that oil and gas is not going away. Um, Oil, especially, is not going away. There's a really cool graphic on what you can make with a barrel of oil. Let me see if I can find this. So, um, let's find this. What can you make with a barrel of oil? And it's a really cool image graphic that I saw. Here it is. So here's what can be made with 1 barrel of oil. That's not the right screen. Sorry, back to me. Let's try this. Let's save this image to my downloads. Let's uh, transition to this one. Let's add an image, add image. Let me upload this file. I'm sorry, guys. All right, here it comes. So what can you make from a barrel of oil? And again, this is not me like simping for the oil industry. This is just me being kind of realistic about what you can make with a barrel of oil, which is kind of interesting. So with 1 barrel of oil, um, you can make wax, you can make asphalt, you can make lubricants, you can make charcoal. You can make toothbrushes, you can make combs, you can make plastic drinking cups, you can make all these different things. So our society is way too reliant on plastic, which is a major byproduct of oil, for it ever to become irrelevant. So yeah, it's going to be around for forever. So um, what's going to happen is these chemical engineers that work in oil and gas are going to fit in. They're going to transition, and their companies are going to as they pivot, they'll get moved around. But um, there is a future for chemical engineers as we continue along this energy transition. There is. All right. Thank you for watching this episode of the Engineering Success Podcast. I really appreciate your support. It would really help us out if you leave comments down below, like, comment, subscribe. All those things really help us engage and get our reach out. And also make sure you give the podcast a 5-star review on your favorite website. I'll read out all the best reviews down below.
Because I ain't chasing payments, still playing in the basement while I'm working on arrangements. They heard the kid in 50 countries, thank God that's amazing. But I'd rather thank Spotify, they put me on the station.